Hello, good evening. How is everybody? How are you? It's High Priestess Jamila, Authentic Witch. Um, so I wanted to come and talk about something, and this is probably a very sensitive topic. This is probably going to be a very triggering topic for some, but I felt like it needed to be said. And what I want to talk about is authentic witch versus a person that is mentally ill. And I do think do I think that there's a thin line? I don't. I don't think that there's a thin line between being an authentic witch and um, being mentally ill. I think that it is obvious when you have when you can see the difference, when you discover the difference between someone that is an authentic witch and someone that is mentally ill. And I felt the need to come and speak about this because I think that I can't really say industry, I can't really say field. I guess you could say area of expertise when you speak in the terms of the fact that we offer the work to the public, especially if it's being offered to the public. Hello to the chat. Hello, 1EQ. Hi. So, our area of expertise, or either our spiritual beliefs, is probably one of the most targeted, I want to say targeted areas on the internet, and you see it all the time. You see it all the time. Um, and so I've been talking quite a bit about scam artists, people that are scamming, people that actually don't have a belief in the craft and really know nothing about it. And I want to talk about signs of someone. Now, first of all, I think that when people dabble in the craft and it's not something that they should be doing, I think that I believe it can cause mental illness to people like that, or it can cause a mental illness to become more exacerbated. It can make it worse. So I think that if you never was drawn to it, and I think that if you never heard about it or had those experiences, especially when it comes with family, like for example, if you know witches in your family, or you grow up hearing about maybe your great grandmother being a witch. That's not a requirement to be a witch, because it is something that it's really a lost practice, and generationally. But I think that if it's not something that you are truly connected with, you can really, really, really get yourself into trouble. So, for example, especially when you look at hoodoo practitioners, okay? And I think that hoodoo practitioners it can be obvious. There is absolutely validity to hoodoo, okay? But I think when you're speaking into terms of when you're looking at someone that is an authentic witch, you're not going to find an authentic witch really that is going to gawk at things like Satanism. And I think that's a big, heavy, heavy hitting sign that a person is not authentic. Because I believe that most of people that are authentic witches, and they are going to probably at some point in their practice, at some point in their spiritual journey, they are going to uh journey to what they call the dark side, right? Which it's, I don't even know what that is. To me, I don't really believe in there being much of a difference between white and dark magic. I really don't. I've started to more so understand why people feel that way, why they feel as though there's no difference between the two. And I think that people want to differentiate because they don't really want to face the truth when it comes to the craft. Because technically, post Abrahamic religion, every goddess, every other god or goddess is considered to be a demon when you're looking at it from an Abrahamic point of view. So, but I think that there are a lot of people that will start to dabble in witchcraft and they can get misled. And I think that being misled is a big, big thing because you can be getting told to do something that obviously is not serving you. And I think that somebody that is mentally ill is not going to really, really realize that. Okay. And you really don't understand, especially as far as like running a business when it comes to the craft, because most a lot of us authentic witches, we can be doing different things. Some of us 100% run a business in the craft. There are some authentic witches that they have jobs outside of that, but they are a witch. But I think that a mentally ill person is going to show signs of this. Number one, harassing people. Harassment is something typically that mentally ill people do. They do. And I've seen them out in social media. I've actually experienced constant harassment um, by people that I deem as mentally ill. And what they will do is they will, it seems like the psychosis that they are in never gets better. And I just want to say that um, it is a fact, especially when you're dealing with narcissistic disease. A lot of people could agree, arguably, because I wouldn't let anybody ruin my life. But somebody that's mentally ill, that doesn't have the mental capacity to not harass people, and, with delusions in their mind about things that are happening that are not actually happening, they don't really have the mental capacity to actually make a spell work, or even they wouldn't even have the mental capacity to connect. And I'm speaking solely about untreated mental illness that really obviously isn't being treated. I mean, we can consider um anxiety to be a mental illness. That's considered to be a mental illness. Um but it's more of a common type of thing, which makes a lot of sense for a lot of people to have anxiety, but um and that's not to say that if you do have a confirmed mental illness that you can't practice. So I'm not saying that at all. Please don't take it as me saying that. But I think that it would be important for you to have whatever it is under some kind of control. If you've been harassing somebody or having these weird, strange delusions and outbursts, that's not the sign of a witch. That's the sign of somebody mentally ill. Typically, if a witch feels as though someone is casting something against her, she's going to do the work. She's going to do the work. And it's not going to be a constant, you know, showdown all the time, to where somebody, first of all, an authentic witch is not trying to convince people that they are a witch. They just are who they are. They're not trying to convince people. It doesn't take any convincing necessarily. Now, if we put up testimonials and things of that nature, then that's not quite the same thing. Um, but I do think that a lot of people that have extreme mental illnesses, like manic depression, schizophrenia, they are very, very attracted to spiritualism and the occult. And I think that when you have something like that go on, it is a cause for some kind of concern, especially when you have people out here in social media claiming that they can do certain things with their magic that they're not actually able to do. And there's a problem there, because you can convince a person that you can do something and play around and pretend, but at the end of the day, if you take on a client and you can't really do what needs to be done to help them, then you're essentially leading that person into darkness. It's like, because you can't even possibly even understand um what it is that witches do. Okay, so Then there's the issue of trolling. Okay. I actually had somebody leave a trolly comment on my TikTok, and I didn't even bother to delete it. But basically, it was, oh, go to Doctor So and So, and Doctor So and So is going to help you, and he changed my life. Witches are not going to do that. Hello, Top 10, and hello, Shamika. Authentic witches are not going to do that. They're not going around the internet, leaving their WhatsApp in people's chat rooms, or, they're not going around the internet spamming people's comment section. Okay, so that would be a sign that, something's wrong there. Here's another thing: an authentic witch is going to tell you straight out, I am a witch. Now, I know that there is the phenomenon of the Christian witches. I totally get that. And I think that essentially, in a lot of cases, that is being done for social acceptance, because especially on YouTube is very heavily saturated with religion and organized religion. So, and most witches, they, especially in this day and age, I'm not saying that we're all like this, but a lot of us, and some of us don't like to say that we're pagan. Some of us just say, hey, I am a witch. We have no problem with saying that we are a witch. And we don't go back on it. It's not something that, and then especially once you get so far into your craft, you're definitely not going to ever say, oh, I'm not a witch, because that word means something. It's one of the few labels that actually means something. And all of us witches know what it means. And so I'm not saying that a person can't be a witch and not, but I think that a lot of people need to realize how sort of it's like a setup. It really is. It's like it's being done systematically and by design. In particular, when you look at those videos of people that claim that, you ever run into those videos where it says ex witch, turns to Jesus. No, there's no such thing as an ex witch. Not gonna happen. I don't care if you are a baneful witch or if you consider yourself to be a loving and healing witch, which all of us have to play both sides at some point. You are not going to say that you're an ex witch because it's something you're born that way. So when you see a lot of these channels, that's propaganda. There is no witch that's going to come out and say, "Hey, I'm an ex witch." So that there, those are paid actors. Okay, paid actors and probably even paid commenters. The comment section is even fake. Troll accounts. YouTube is filled with troll accounts. Okay. And so, it is a fact that um people that do have mental illnesses, they emulate people a lot. They copy people a lot. They parrot people. They do. And the reason why is because a lot of times, like, sometimes people that have a really bad mental issue, they are searching for an identity. Okay. And so it's very easy for them to claim that they are a witch, but in reality, it's just them searching for an identity, searching for something to identify with, something that they feel is cool at that time. But then as soon as the tough get going, because I can tell you, I have went through it. You know what I'm saying? And a witch is always going to figure it out, whether or not somebody threw a binding spell at you, or a freezer spell, or some other type of curse, or some other type of working that's very complicated. A witch is going to know. Witches rarely, once they learn their craft, they're not, they may have conversations about it, but they're going to know exactly what they need to do. Why? Because they're well connected. They're well connected spiritually. And I think that on YouTube, one of the reasons, and I think that this is the reason why there are, witches out there that, they kind of ignore it, and so do I for the most part. But I think that the issue is that I do believe that it is an agenda. I do believe that there are some people essentially that are pretending to be. It's almost like it's like a op. It is a op. It's somebody pretending to be a witch, but they actually are a very religious person, and they don't even really like it. They hate the thought of witchcraft. It's something pretty much that has been ingrained in them to dislike it, which is why they target witches. Anybody that's targeting another witch is more than likely not authentic. Okay. And I've been talking about this, and like I said, I'm becoming quite a gatekeeper these days. Okay. And I think that people can do whatever they want if they put their mind to it. Do I, as a witch, agree with people claiming to be a Christian witch? Not really, because it clearly and expressly states, no, don't do that. So, in the Bible, it says it. So, and I think that, like I said, when it comes to hoodoo, you can be a hoodoo practitioner and not use the Bible, though. You don't have to use the Bible if you're a hoodoo practitioner. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything. I'm just speaking about this because I feel that there are people on here that do have a legitimate mental illness, and they are looking for some kind of way to hustle a little bit of money to make ends meet. Honestly. And I think that that can be very dangerous. I think it's dangerous, and I think it's unhealthy. And this is my opinion, you know. And like I said, you can be an authentic witch with a legitimate mental illness. Yes, you can. But it's certain signs that you can see as a witch. Like for me, I can tell by looking at it just seemed like I can sense it. When I'm dealing with another witch, I can sense it. What I found, especially essentially in social media, is people claiming to be witches, but they're doing very mundane things, which have nothing to do with the craft. Like, for example, spreading rumors, smear campaigns, flagging channels. That's not the sign of a witch. Oh, I'm going to win this spiritual war with you by flagging a video, by doing a smear campaign. Those are mundane things. So, it is the truth. And, I know that there are people on here that are problematic that just are very bothersome, very, very bothersome. They're constantly harassing other people. It is absolutely ridiculous, and they don't say they're a witch, but they're burning candles and they're offering spiritual services, but they're not saying, I am a witch. Well, then what are you? You know what I mean? That's just like as a witch and a gatekeeper, I'm turning into one. I am. When I see people reading cards, but yet they're reciting Bible verses, that to me is total confusion. That's something that I don't understand, nor do I accept. And I don't, because you can't mix the two. I think that when you do mix the two, you're in this constant spiritual conflict. Like I said, in my practice, I work with the demons and I also work with deities, which I believe that there is no difference, but um and I feel that, you know, most of us do. You can be a Satanist but still celebrate Mabon and honor deities that have something to do with Mabon. Okay. So typically, another thing about witches is that we don't practice monotheism typically. We don't. Okay. So we're very polytheistic when it comes to certain things, when it comes to the deities, especially if you're doing work for other people, you know? So that whole monotheism thing, that is a Christian concept. It's not to say that you can't have one main goddess that you work with, but usually an authentic witch understands why it's important to familiarize yourself with several, because those are essentially, they're not familiars like pets, but those are your familiars. That's why you have a connection with them. That's why you connected with them. And I as a witch, I think that it is important to gatekeep that. I think that all witches should be concerned about that. I think that we shouldn't just let anybody and everybody claim that they're practicing witchcraft. We shouldn't allow them to do that. That's why they end up getting ran off of here. They end up getting ran off of social media, because this is a person that is not only dangerous, okay, that can be very dangerous. An authentic witch is not going to tell you that their rival in social media made your spell not work. They're not going to ever tell you that, right? So I've had it happen to me. I've had, I guess, my rivals or my competitors, you know, have people call me and you could tell clearly where they came from. You can tell where they came from because they were blaming me for their problems and I had never spoken to this person a day in my life. Didn't know this person from Adam, and they were calling me with accusations. So I know for a fact that there are people out here claiming that they're practicing the craft, but that somehow the reason why, you know, literally things fell to pieces or why they didn't win that court case is because one of their rivals interfered somehow or interjected somehow. Whereas an authentic witch is going to say, well, they're not going to make excuses. They're not going to try to use somebody else as an excuse. So it's a lot of that going on, and I also think that there's drug addiction. There's drug addictions that some people have, and they want because they feel as though being a witch or pretending to be one is just easy money, and it's not easy money. And the one thing that I've noticed about very religious people is that they can even have witchcraft in their blood. But if they're religious, it seems like they want to stay in that safe comfort zone. But then they kind of want witches to do all of the work. Y'all notice that? Anybody else notice that? You're doing all this work to manifest, and I think that they subconsciously do it, you know, and it's almost like they want to backbite off of our manifestations. So to me, I think that if you want to truly become connected to the spirit of magic, you have to be lucid. You have to be connected. You do. You have to be connected. And it's not what was I going to say to make what I just said make sense? Practicing the craft or being a witch, it requires for you to have the mindset for it. Let's put it like that. And it is dangerous. Would I suggest a person that knows nothing about witchcraft working with Santa Muerta? No, no, I wouldn't. Would I suggest somebody working with Hecate if they don't really have the connection? No, I don't. Because they don't really know what they're in for. They don't really know what exactly it is that they're doing. And a lot of the times it's all for show. So I think it's a part of the agenda. I really do. And do I believe that there are these false witches out in social media that actually don't like the craft, don't like witches, literally is afraid, is God fearing as they call it. Yeah, it is. They're not authentic. Okay. It can be very dangerous playing around with it or even pretending. So now, as far as with being an authentic witch, yes, us witches, our knowledge base has really evolved a lot in the past, especially the past 3 years. And so a lot of the stuff that we learn as we go along with our practice, those things are very real. Um, but I think that when you look at somebody that is legitimately mentally ill, that gives us all a bad name because it's definitely not a mental illness. It's very, very common. It's one of those things that are very hidden in plain sight. Witchcraft everywhere, the symbolism everywhere, nature being everywhere. And somebody that is just mentally ill, which is separate from a psychic. A psychic doesn't necessarily have to be a witch, and a witch does not necessarily have to be psychic. Divination and divinating and being a psychic is two different things, also. So you can be a witch that divinates with the cards or bones or the dice or whatever, but it doesn't always go hand in hand. Okay. So a psychic is something very different from a witch, even though they can be related to one another. They can be very similar, but it's not the same. And y'all got to watch out for psychics, and does that make them? I think that when you're dealing with a psychic, please be careful because if they are mentally ill and they figured out how to do this spiritual transference, or I was looking at a phenomenon about destiny exchanges and stuff. And there's quite a few videos about it. They call it destiny exchanges, is what they call it. But that still doesn't mean that they're mentally ill. In fact, I feel very strongly that even if it's an authentic witch and she just comes for you, that she's still mentally ill. So it's a sign of a mental illness. That's why most people, when they get pursued by people like that, they just kind of pretend that they don't exist. They kind of just ignore them, which is probably a good idea to do that, is to ignore people like that. Because a lot of times, and they're doing all kind of weird stuff to where it's not like it's a contract of sacrifice or it's a contract, a pact or something, or somebody has named you as their sacrifice, but it is more so of their own personal thing. You know what I mean? So, you got to be careful out here because somebody that is that mentally ill cannot do nothing for you. They can't. You know, they can talk a good game, but they just can't do it. And they typically don't understand, why are some of us witches nocturnal? What's happening when we are going through a nocturnal phase? What's happening with that? Most of us have a deep level of understanding for that. And we're not rushing to the bed at 9 p.m. every night. Or if we do, we're gonna, for sure, if there's something that needs to be done, spirit is gonna wake us up during that witching hour. And it's not something that we are going to be confused about. Not going to be confused about it. We're going to know exactly what it is. Being able to transfer spirit to somebody also doesn't make you a witch. Everybody has spirits around them and in them. Typically, an authentic witch, especially one that's running a business, she's going to make sure that she's not transferring these bad spirits to people. So, projecting a negative spirit, or, even that, that doesn't mean anything, because everybody has spirits. It doesn't mean that they're a witch. You see spirits around people all the time. Does that mean they're a witch? No. Most authentic witches are very familiar with the elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. It's never gonna change. Okay, nothing new is under the sun when it comes to the craft. It may have evolved a little bit, and maybe your craft has evolved, but there's literally no such thing as that. And a lot of us witches, when we see people doing things like that, it really, really, really makes us stop and wonder. It does. It's kind of strange. Okay. So, beware out there, especially if you have a so-called spiritualist, or they're supposed to be, I don't know what they're supposed to be, a spiritualist, a witch, a psychic, and they don't know how to control their emotions. They're sitting on the phone with you, having emotional outbursts, angry outbursts at people that may contact them to get a reading. you know so there's a difference, a huge difference. And I think that if people are looking for a witch, they're looking for a witch. Okay. Not somebody that's pretending to be a witch, which is a lot of that going on out here these days. Okay. So, and then I think that it's unfair to authentic witches who are out here in social media, and these people with these obvious mental illnesses, obvious. And you know what? Getting upset about what somebody did to you or said about you, or feeling passionate about that, that's not a mental illness. The mentally ill are those that are creating all of this chaos around witches, people that they know are a witch, and in reality they hate witches. In reality, they look at us as the witches in the movies. And most authentic witches know, nah, it's fun to watch, but nah. Hello, Ashley Nicole. Did y'all know that being a seer is even different from being psychic? Seeing something is seeing something that you need to see. So, for example, when a witch is banishing a malevolent spirit, she's going to see that spirit. It's called being a seer. She's going to see that. Does that necessarily mean that she's psychic? Nope. And then it would depend on what the psychic gifts are. But you can't assume that all psychics know how to do spiritual work. You can't assume that they know actually how to make a spell work. How do you make it work? How do you do this? Especially when you have an extenuating circumstance happening. Most of us witches, if we have a situation going on, we are going to get direct inflammation from our, well, they call it a spirit team. They're not going to be lost or confused. If a witch feels lost and confused, she's going to find herself. She's not going to display odd, strange behavior for a long period of time. Most of us witches care about the image of witches, of our fellow witches. Most of us do. We care about the image in a sense to where, hey, you know what? Life can give you turns and twists, but you know what? At the end of the day, you still a witch. And whatever turn and twist that life takes, it doesn't mean that you're not a witch. You're still a witch. Okay? You're still who you are. And I'm not saying that you can't go to the Botanica and buy some candles and pray over it. But prayer is not witchcraft. And yeah, some of us witches, we still pray sometimes in dire circumstances, and but when it's time to do witchcraft, when it's time to do witchcraft, I just recently won a court case. Just recently. Okay. So when it comes to authentic witchcraft, there is a difference between that, lighting a candle, and praying over it. There's a huge difference. It's not that simple. It really isn't. Look for the signs. A mentally ill person is going to habitually try to compete. If you come and you say that you are um, a Satanist, they may claim to be a Satanist too. If you are somebody that if you run into somebody that because they heard you say, oh, I'm on the left hand path, when they don't really, you really know what that means. Do you really, really know what that means? It's a huge responsibility. And while we can all have a sense of humor, it's a matter of life and death. So, I think that the mentally ill people harass the witches. I know that I've been harassed. Mentally ill people don't have any filter. They don't know how to stop harassing people. They want to be that person. They want to and then an authentic witch is not going to be playing on somebody's phone either. Since when do you have to don't no authentic witch have to play on somebody's phone? An authentic witch don't have to tap nobody's phone. Tap your phone for what? To find out something that really means nothing to us. So it's a lot of that going on because people want to hustle. They want to hustle people. Now, I spoke about people taking people's ancestors, and so that's just like there's a difference between being a witch and a wise woman and being under possession. And yeah, some of us we do go under possession sometimes when it comes to our deities, sometimes. But people can be under a possession by a malevolent spirit that is not only doing harm to them, but is going to do harm to the person that they call themselves doing some work for. So, and it's very insulting as a witch because of other mentally ill people claiming to be witches. All of the witches are under judgment. And because witchcraft is not a mental illness, that's just like Christians believe in a talking snake. Okay, a snake actually talked to somebody. Am I going to go to them and say, hey, I don't believe that that happened? No, it's their religious right and their religious belief. So if you can believe in talking snakes, I can believe in whatever I want to believe in. So, and I think that a lot of the witches, when we see things like that, it's disturbing because it's taking the craft and twisting it. And again, yes, you can make magic your own. Absolutely. Yes, you can. Yep, you can. I agree with that. I believe in that. But I also think that when you deviate too far away from what other people can recognize as a witch, because we're the ones that's specially equipped to deal with that. In fact, we've been dealing with it our whole life. So, and it's insulting. It's almost like they look at it as like they're playing some kind of game or something. And that's definitely not what a lot of the witches are doing. It's not a game, it's not a play, it's not a front, it's not a show. It's very, very real. Spirits are very, very real. Malevolent spirits are very, very real. Demons are very, very real. And it can be dangerous, for them as well as people that may think, oh, this person can do something for me. They can, they can do a spell for me, and they really actually can't. Okay. So it is very alarming too, I can tell you that. And it just seems like people try to mix that in together. They want to mix it together. And I think that that is another agenda to make all of the witches look like we've got some kind of mental illness or we're delusional or something like that. And when we all know that we're not. If witchcraft was not real, I wouldn't be in business for 9 years, almost a decade. If it were not real, there'd be no way. Okay. So, and I think people need to start paying attention to that. Um, you know how they say insanity is catching, and I agree with that. You do have to protect your energy, protect your aura, make sure you have your shield up. Okay. Just be careful with that, is all I'm saying. Because a witch, even when you come in and you get a reading from a witch, when you come to us for a reading, you're already under our protection when you come to us, even for a reading, because protection is needed as we form that circle and we commune with spirit and we divinate or we're reading somebody. And I don't think that that should be encouraged just because you like somebody. Here's another thing. I like being liked. I love my friends, I love my clients, I love my family. Do witches actually care about being liked? Nope. That's one of our biggest traits, because a lot of us, I feel like spirit kind of let us know this by affecting us socially. A lot of us were affected socially our entire life, almost like we had a kick me sign on our backs, almost like we had some kind of stigmata. This is something that most authentic witches understand. They don't care about necessarily people liking them. Yeah, they embrace the people that do like them. They do. Hey, Jen. Hey, girl. Hey. They embrace the people that do like them, but but they don't. A lot of us witches, we truly don't care what people think, while at the same time protecting ourselves from anybody else's psychic vision at the same time. Okay. So, just I'm saying this to give the witches a chance, just because you see somebody burning candles and it's obvious that they are very mentally ill, please don't project that to all of the collective of witches. Please don't do that, because that's unfair. Okay. That's all I'm saying, because I've seen that happen before. Okay. that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I'm gonna get out of here, y'all. I've been here for an hour. I pretty much have said what I wanted to say. And somebody that's mentally ill like that, they just need to go and get some help. Even if it's an authentic psychic or even an authentic witch, if you're divinating and you're doing readings and you swear by your readings and you swear that you're telling the truth, but then on the flip side, a day or two later, you're attacking and bearing false witness against people and doing smear campaigns against people. How are people supposed to really, really know? They don't know, because that's not what you are. It's just the truth. I mean, Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. I've been here a little over an hour. I'm gonna go. Okay, learn the signs and the differences. Oh, here's another thing. A mentally ill person doesn't even realize they're mentally ill. They do things to people, but then claim that that person did that to them. Classic sign of a mental illness. Classic sign. They will try to ruin you, ruin your reputation. They'll say anything. They got Tourette syndrome. But then they will turn around and say, "No, you're doing this to me." That's a mentally ill person. Sometimes it's pathological when a person isn't even self aware of the things that they are doing. They're not even self aware. And, is it a mental illness to say, "Hey, I don't want nothing to do with you"? That's a mental illness? No, it's not. People usually have a reason why. They have a reason why they don't want to have nothing to do with you and why they want no association. And a person that seeks that much validation to the point where, they are making up things and trying to create things. That's not witchcraft, okay? They're trying to create things that are not there. And they're doing that because they want validation. That's a mentally ill person. Somebody that seeks validation like that, and you can't validate yourself. What's going on here? Anyway, that's my discussion on it. I can't. All I gotta say is this: is that I cannot wait until I get a much needed break from social media, and it is coming up very soon. That I will get a much needed break, because sometimes when I come out in social media, I feel like I'm just babysitting a bunch of people that should actually be in an insane asylum or a mental hospital, and that, my friend, that right there, because I have my own theory when it comes to that. Yeah, a witch has control over her spirits. She has control over the spiritual power that she possesses. Okay. That's another thing. So, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, guys, I gotta go. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see y'all later. Okay. Blessings. Bye.